let's talk about it. So flip the next page in your book. Oh, and I was thinking we had the equation written down, but we don't. Okay. So on the spot on the next page for equation number 1, write it down. What do we get for an answer, first of all?
-7.
-7. Okay, good sign. Let's make sure we got it for the right reason. Something went wrong? Okay, we'll figure out what. How did you all start? What did you do first? Distribute that 1/2? Okay, so 1/2 of 2x gives me x. Half of -4 is -2. Just going to recopy the other side. Now what? What should I be thinking at this point? What's my strategy?
The x is on one side.
Get the x's on one side, the number on the other side. Okay, so that I can isolate x or get it by itself. Now I can either move the x's to the left or to the right. I'm going to end up with the same answer either way. Which way did you all go though?
Right.
X is to the right, why?
Because that way it's not a negative x.
That way it's not a negative x. Okay, so if I want to get my x's over here, then my move should be subtracting x from each side. Now that doesn't mean you're wrong if you did something else at this point, because there's other steps you could do. If I do that, I'm left with -2 equals 12 plus 2x. And one thing I've noticed helping people in the lab is often things go wrong at this point. If I moved my x's and got them together on the right side, then my numbers should be going to the other side, right? I don't want both my terms on one side and then to forget where my equal sign is, because that's been happening a lot. So I want that 12 gone, which means I want to subtract 12 and do it on both sides. So -2 minus 12 is -14, and left with 2x on the right. My last step should be to do what? Divide off that 2. I'm going to get x equals -7. Did any group do it exactly like I did, where the steps are exactly?
Our group did it first the 12, like you bring the 14 over, and then we all switched it up so the x, like we did the
So we had everything on one side?
Yeah,
but
we
you-
used numbers
Oh,
first.
okay. So a couple groups did exactly what I did, a couple groups did something different, but it's still correct and got to the same answer? Okay.
Does it matter in the long run if you do x first or last?
What do you all think to that? Does it matter if you deal with the x first or the number first? No. You've got to get the x's on one side, the numbers on the other side. It doesn't matter which side you put the x on, and it also doesn't matter which of those you deal with first. Okay? Let me ask you this about your work. Is it even if your steps don't match mine, is it this organized, where I could carefully see every single little step you did? Okay, because that will matter on Fridays. Not so much what you did first, because there's definitely some choice there, but I want to be able to follow what you did. So you want to have all those steps shown. All right, is there any other way to start it? Did anybody start in some way other than multiplying by 1/2 and distributing that? Okay, could we have started that way?
Do you
And I
mean by
think, for the
multiplying
record,
it by 2?
For the record, I think this is how I would naturally have done it, but I'm curious if other people try to do it differently.
Instead of dividing it, wouldn't you multiply it by 2?
I would, it would be the same thing, but it'd be easier to say it that way. So let me show you another option, so you can see that you can do this differently and get down to the same answer. So if I look at that 1/2, and I don't want to distribute it because I don't want to deal with the fraction, I could get rid of it. And I'm thinking, well, since that 1/2 is multiplied on, maybe I want to divide it off. But dividing by 1/2 is the same as multiplying by 2. Okay, so let's trace that through. Multiplying by 2, I've got 2 times 1/2, so that's gone, it's just 1, right? That's the whole reason for choosing it. So that side is just 2x minus 4. I effectively got rid of the half. what happens over here is now the 2 has to get distributed. So if you think you're getting away from distributing by doing this method, you're not. It's just that you're distributing a 2 instead of a half. Yeah, so it's a little bit easier. So that becomes, what, 24 plus 6x? And now I'm down to, you know, this kind of step where I've got to get my x's on one side, my number on the other side. How about I subtract 2x and get negative 4 equals 24 plus 4x. If I got my x's on the right, I need my number on the left. So let's subtract 24. Negative 28 equals 4x. Divide off the 4, and there's your x equals negative 7.
Okay. We just did opposite. He took the 6 off, so it changed the whole equation.
Okay, so but you guys did something like this?
That's what exactly.
And did you get down to the negative 7?
Got negative 8 because when we flopped he took the 6x off and it changed the number, and then we had negative 4 equals 32. So
Okay, but you found what you did and fixed it,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, so it's nice to see that you can make that method
But I just
work,
want to
right?
make sure that I wasn't going crazy, because that's how you can
Yeah,
do it.
and that's why I want you to see some options. You can do it
Right.
either one of those ways. Now that they're both up here, which do you think is easier?
I like the first one you did.
Yeah,
And that's-
first one.
Up for debate, right? It's a personal preference at this point, yeah.
But if it was a third or something that's not as easy, then you would definitely go over.
Perfect question. When is it worth doing it this second way?
Fraction gets.
If you try to distribute that fraction and it creates anything other than whole numbers here, right, like Billy said, if that was a 1/3, then I would absolutely do it this way to avoid having fractions in that second step. Yeah, what were you gonna say?
The same thing.
The same thing. So for me, I chose to do it this way because I could look ahead and see that when I distributed the 1/2, I was gonna get whole numbers. But if I looked ahead and realized I wasn't, I would have done that. Okay, cool, let's do it again. New piece.